Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this presentation of ViroGates report for the third quarter of 2020. You'll soon hear a few words from CEO Jakob Knudsen and CFO Silva. And your moderator today, that is myself. I am Alf Rippland from Westerhamnen Corporate Finance. We have the pleasure of hosting this as we cover ViroGates with our commissioned research service. We start with a presentation, and after that we will have a Q&A session, and this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be found afterwards on YouTube, on Westerhamnen's YouTube channel, and on ViroGates homepage. So with that, I will give the word to you, Jakob and Mark.
Thank you very much, Alf. We appreciate very much the opportunity to give an update on our recent Q3 analysis or interim report. This report was released this morning, and it's actually our first webinar with a specific focus on an interim report. Previously, we've been having live meetings, but with also a focus on a general update on the company. This one is specifically oriented to the content of our interim report. So we're very happy to have our first go at this. And with these introductory words, I'll give the word over to Mark.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for hosting this webinar. I'll go through the highlights of the Q3 report together with Jakob now. If you look at our revenue for the third quarter of the year, it reached 1,850,000 Danish kroner, and that's a high number when you look historically at our revenue. It's due to resumed testing by a key routine customer that had halted testing earlier in the year. And it's also due to an increasing number of orders coming from more customers across our products. You'll see that we still have an operating loss of around 4 million Danish kroner, and that continues to be a result of our significant investments in sales activities and the sales organization that we put up. On the following page, you'll see that the highlights of the year or the quarter are primarily two clinical routine customers that we've announced in Spain, and that continues to be a result of our focus on Spain and our significant investments in the sales organization there. These two hospitals, as was announced, also has a COVID-19 focus in how they use the product in their COVID-19 departments. Finally, when we look at the full year outlook for 2020, based on the pipeline we have at the moment, we expect increasing revenue, still expanding the customer base, and more clinical routine customers down the line. The COVID-19 net effect is still uncertain for ViroGates, and that's because of two reasons. First of all, we've experienced a halt in sales activities across our markets, simply because our sales representatives cannot visit hospitals and set up meetings the same way they could before. And that's had a negative impact. On the more positive side, we've seen with the two new Spanish customers, we've seen that there is an increased interest in using our diagnostic products for triaging COVID-19 patients and using that for risk stratification of those patients. That's why we say that the net effect of COVID-19 is still uncertain for us. We maintain the strategic objective of becoming cash flow positive with the existing cash at hand. Over to you, Jakob.
Thank you. The first thing, and it's actually an new addition to our interim report, is that we've now chosen also to disclose our revenue split both by product and by geography. We think this is useful for the investors, and it's obviously in line with our guidance that we want to shift more and more sales to the ViroGates product platform, because that's the clinically relevant platform. We still have a lot of sales, 58% from the Elisa platform, and we obviously appreciate this because it's generally a recognition that suPAR is very relevant and that research groups are very interested in conducting clinical research with our products, and we continue to welcome that. But obviously, as we go on, we would like to see a shift towards TurbiLatex and to a certain extent also to quick triage, because those are the clinically relevant products. We also like to disclose the revenue by geography, and as you can see, we actually have 20% of our sales in North America. There are quite a number of research groups conducting both kidney-related research in the North Americas, but also COVID-19, and we're part of a consortium there. So we still do not have a marketing authorization in the US, but these researchers are able to conduct research based on our products. And we will obviously maintain this information in Q reports to come. We, in line with our obligations, we obviously try to educate you as investors as much as we can in terms of what are the main things going on in our business. And as Mark pointed to, I think one of the most important aspects of the Q3 report is that we've seen these additions of new customers in Spain. This is really a demonstration that our Spanish strategy is working, that we are getting more clinical customers in Spain. It actually stems all the way back from our initial public offering when we went on the stock market and our prospectus, that this was a key focus area for us, because we saw the structures being amenable to our products, and we now see this materialize in the form of clinically relevant customers. Mark has already covered the COVID-19 status, so I'm not going to dwell too much on that. And we've also spoken about the shift in the product mix, so I'll also allow that for your reading at your own leisure. We've started the work on the grant that we reported on earlier this year, that we were granted from the EU Horizon 2020 program. We were very honored to be awarded this grant. It was a grant specifically oriented towards treatment and prognostication of COVID-19 patients, and a recognition from the EU that our products really could mean a difference in the treatment and risk stratification of COVID-19 patients. We've started that work. We're working both with Hvidovre Hospital, the research department, in terms of optimizing clinical guidelines based on suPARnostic and COVID-19 patients. We're also working with a Greek group in terms of using suPARnostic as a risk stratification tool in order to triage patients to either active treatment for COVID-19 disease or into a control group. So this means that the patients that are most severely affected by COVID-19 disease, they will be allocated to a particular drug, anakinra, and we will report later on the outcomes of this study, of whether we actually see a beneficial effect of triaging patients based on suPAR. And this is something that we look very much forward to. This is both in the interest of patients in terms of not dispensing biologically very potent drugs that are also highly expensive to those patients if they're not in need, but also securing the patients that are in need of a deregulation of their inflammation in the body, that they're given these kinds of treatment as early as possible. So this is actually the major part of the nominal value of the grant, but all the work packages are now being worked on as we speak. We also guide on the potential outlooks for 2020, and we do expect more customers to materialize in 2020. Obviously, with the uncertainty that the traditional sales mechanisms that we deploy, which are to a large extent sales visits conducted at the hospitals, are now being paused, and it's very, very difficult for our sales rep to make appointments with physicians, especially for new potential customers. So we're working very much with the customer base that we've already established. As we've guided early on, we have a pool of existing customers that we're working with anyway, and when the contact has already been established, we can conduct webinars and so on with our customers to a certain extent. But as also mentioned, we do see an increasing interest in risk stratification of patients based on the COVID-19 situation. The net effect is still uncertain to us, so that's why we have to guide that we basically cannot predict the exact outcome of this. It's both a risk and opportunity, but we look forward to monitoring this more closely, and we would probably also see additional customers being interested in our products based on the risk stratification of COVID-19 patients. We have also, as you know, announced a product development, a new product line in collaboration with our both with our Austrian partners on the GenSpeed platform, which is a point-of-care platform based on capillary finger prick blood, and that is progressing steadily and as projected for a Q1 2021 launch with in the pre-hospital setting. So this is something that we also look very much forward to reporting on going forward. We continue our works on the validations of our TurbiLatex platform. As you know, this is the product that I sometimes describe as the printer cartridge that goes into the larger systems, and we validate these larger systems one by one. There are several, and they're marketed by diagnostic giants such as Siemens, Abbott, Roche, and Danaher, Beckman Coulter. So we obviously work to be available on as many of those platforms that are relevant to us in the marketplace. And we already have validations conducted on Roche, Abbott, and Siemens, some of those selected platforms. So we maintain our strategic objectives, also mention of being positive with the existing cash at hand.
I think that's it from our side. Over to you.
Thanks very much for that introduction. So I would like to follow up with some questions. First and foremost, you refer to in the report to one particular customer who has resumed testing. Is it correct to assume that this is the customer where you had an issue earlier this year where they had quality problems with the readings on the Elisa platform?
That is correct to assume, and this is also, if you look at the comparisons to last year, where you see a little bit of a fluctuation. So that customer has resumed testing, but based on another product platform. So it's now conducted as COVID-19 tests based on our quick triage product rather than on the Elisa platform. So it's also organizationally in the specific COVID-19 triage department, and that's the setting that they're currently running on. But that's correct. They have resumed the testing.
Okay. Does that mean that they are not going back to the Elisa platform?
No, I obviously have to sort of just put out the caveat that nothing. It's basically at the discretion of the customer, but I would be very surprised if they went back to the Elisa platform, because the QT produces results in 15 to 20 minutes. So basically that's the time schedule up to about an hour that you have in order to provide a clinically meaningful result. So that is not what I foresee happening. We'd like to work with the customer also to implement our turbo-latex, but as it is currently with the COVID-19 setting, the quick triage product makes the most sense to them, and that's what they use in the COVID-19 department.
Okay, and since you mentioned this customer in particular, and since it has had a noticeable effect on your accounts, I assume that this is a very big customer compared to other customers. Is it possible to say anything about what percentage of your sales goes to this particular customer in the latest quarter?
Yeah, we can't disclose any single customer's revenue. That's a decision that we've made not to report on any individual customers. But looking at historical numbers and the drops we've had in the previous quarters, it is a significant and large customer, as you mentioned, and as we've also reported previously, they've resumed testing, but not to the full extent that they did earlier. I think that's the closest we can go.
Okay, thanks. Over to your situation in Spain. You added 2 new clinical routine customers in Q2 and another 2 in Q3, so it's obviously going well for you in Spain. But then again, there's a very serious situation with the COVID-19 developments in Spain at the moment. How do you think this is going to affect your progress there going forward?
Yeah, this is, I guess, one of the golden questions of this era, because there's no question that it is a challenge to initiate a dialogue with potential customers in these times. There is a lot of crisis management going on within the hospital, so they're more focused on the actual patients rather than developing of new ways of dealing with patient flows. So that's on the negative side. On the positive side, the 2 most recent additions in terms of hospitals have actually come based on experience developed within the 2 different regions, one being the region of Murcia and the other one being León y Castilla, where we've seen the hospitals of Q2 actually driving an uptake of the 2 or the 2 other hospitals. So we do see a positive effect from a regional initial hospital going live, and then to the interest with follow-on customers. So with these words, to come up with the net result is next to impossible to us. So we're gonna work as much as we can in terms of overcoming these structural barriers for talking to our customers, and hopefully with an interest that will continue based on COVID-19 risk stratification from them. Okay,
thanks. If we include the latest 2 routine customers in Spain that you have included in Q3, please correct me if I'm wrong, I count 11 routine customers in total for ViroGates. Previously, you also announced how many customers you had in pilot programs. Do you have an updated figure on that?
We continue to have around 50 in our pilot stage, where they have matured to a certain extent down our sales funnel. But this is a part of the pipeline that are a little bit difficult to add to at present, because adding new customers is difficult. So while we have not issued a specific number, it's right around the same number. So we're working very much with the customers that we already have, and where in the sales funnel, and where we aim to get them to actually becoming clinically active, but it's right around the same number as we previously reported.
Okay. I noticed from the new addition to your report that you showed earlier, Jakob, that 58% of your sales in Q3 was the Elisa product, and to me that was surprisingly high. And I thought this had to do with the customer that has resumed testing, but you say they are not on the Elisa platform anymore. So who contributes all this Elisa volume?
Yeah, well, to me it's actually a low figure, because previously it's been actually almost all, well, before we launched our new products, it was obviously all of the sales that we had. So to us it's a lowering number, but 58% represents the interest from large research groups globally in trying to establish the potentials of suPAR. We were just part of obviously an online kidney conference in the US, where US researchers reported in an entire session on results related to suPAR and acute kidney disease, and also with an aspect on COVID-19 and the prospects of these patients developing kidney disease. So there's a lot of interest in the research area. And one slide that we've not put in, but we may consider to reinstate in our corporate presentations, is the amount of research being conducted. We now have more than 700 peer-reviewed journals, and obviously we welcome this interest. The fact that we go more into becoming clinically relevant does not mean that the research market will not continue. The only thing is that we appreciate obviously clinical customers, because it's a recurring revenue stream rather than one-off sales. So we will likely see that our Elisa platform remains clinically relevant, remains relevant to our sales for a period going forward.
Okay. In the other chart that you showed on the same page, you had a geographical breakdown. And apart from Europe, which is biggest, and North America, you have a region called other areas. Now, what countries have you included? In what countries do you sell to in the other areas category?
I can take that. So we don't disclose on a single country level, but it's actually quite a few different. So that there's not one specific area, but the other areas that is mostly for research use, because we have had a focus on Europe as being the place where we're targeting clinical routine customers. So that's where we have our clinical routine customers, and then other areas that's all around the world basically, and it's multiple countries, but it's mostly for research use.
Okay. Turning to your profit and loss account and your key figures, we noticed that your gross margin for the quarter is surprisingly high, 82.4%. And this is higher than what we have in our estimates. Our forecast going forward is around 80%. Now, do you think that the higher number, the recent number, is representative of what to expect going forward, or is this more one-off aberration?
I think it's a great question. In general, our gross margins across products lie around the 80%. And whether this quarter has been special is a bit hard to say, but gross margins around 80%. That I think that's a fair assumption when we look across our different products.
Okay. And you have also previously you have told us that often when you start up a new customer, you give them quite a few free startup kits to get going. Is this counted towards the gross margin? Does it affect your gross margin, or is it only the paid sales that are included in the margin?
That is factored in the gross margin, and that's one of the reasons for why we're seeing the development that we are in gross margin. We are more firm now on getting upfront payments for the first orders from customers, simply due to us wanting a commitment from the clinical routine customers that we're engaging with. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the higher gross margins. But I would expect going forward that it will not be higher levels than what we're seeing here. But that's definitely one of the focus areas we've had. That is on not giving away initial first orders at heavily discounts anymore.
Okay. And you also announced earlier this year that you would provide free diagnostic or triage kits to Danish hospitals in their fight against COVID-19. Is this still ongoing, and does it go on at a high volume?
That's correct. We did this as the part of the Denmark Helps Denmark scheme that was launched by our government in the early days of the COVID-19 era, and we did that for a period of time up until June, where we basically announced to the customers that had been made use of them that while we couldn't declare that COVID-19 was over, this was the end of the first wave, and for that reason we have not been giving away seeding products for the COVID-19 initiative since then. So after then it has been paid orders.
Okay, great. Once again, on the financials, we noticed that the cash reserve for the quarter is boosted a little bit by an increase of your current liabilities, and especially in the balance sheet, we noticed that there's about a 3 million Danish kroner increase in the item other liabilities. So could you explain what this is and why it has increased, and what you expect this post to do going forward?
Yeah, the reason for that is due to the EU grant that Jakob was talking about previously, and the EU project we're running at the moment. The increase in current liabilities is due to prepayments for that EU project, and as soon as we complete activities in the work packages that are ongoing, that will be recognized as income. So that's the reason for the increase.
Okay. We also notice when we study your report that there is a slight decrease in the personnel costs, despite you reporting one person more employees this quarter compared to last quarter. Is this a temporary variation, or is it a new level, or are you benefiting from something like perhaps wage subsidy grants or anything like that?
Yeah, so the decrease that we're seeing is I don't know whether to say it's temporary, but the higher number from the previous quarter was due to bonus payouts for the year prior to that. And there's been a few changes on sort of the the work hours for some of the employees, but we expect roughly similar levels as we have in this quarter going forward.
Okay, great. And final question, you have focused a lot on your sales attention on Spain, and I expect that you to continue that even with the COVID-19 situation. Is there any other particular country that you will focus your sales initiatives on in the next few quarters?
Well, as we also disclosed, we have our own sales force in France, and they are also doing a great job in penetrating that market. But they're a little bit behind in terms of when we initiated the work. So France is, from an operational view, also one of the focus areas that we devote quite a lot of interest to. However, we do not expect them to yield as as earlier results as the Spanish market. We've also conducted quite a lot of work in Finland in terms of studies with a particular clinical focus, I would say. So in the Nordic area, this is also a market with very high interest for us. Early on, we have also reported that we wanted to reallocate the German market to our indirect sales channels because of the structures of the market is too complex for us to handle at this point in time. So we expect that we will also reinitiate that, but not as part of our direct sales, but as part of our indirect sales efforts. So I guess those are the markets that we have the most focus on.
Okay, great. I think that's the end of my questions. So this has been very interesting. Thanks very much for your patient answers to all of my questions, and I wish you a very nice day going forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too.